They cut it down while I was gone. No warning, no notice. Just a raw, flat circle where my maple used to stand. The one my dad and I planted when I bought this house. 20 years of shade, gone in a day. If you've ever had something meaningful taken without your consent, this story is for you. Hit like if you've ever fought a silent war with your HOA. Share your story in the comments and subscribe, because this one grows roots and ends in a forest they never saw coming. I came home on a Sunday, late flight, 3 days out of town for a software summit in Denver. I was tired, hungry, and ready to water the yard, but when I pulled into the driveway, I froze. The yard looked wrong, off, too open. Then I saw it, a fresh patch of torn earth, clean and deliberate, in the middle of my front lawn. No tree, just stump dust, mulch scatter, and a dent in my chest I couldn't explain. I killed the engine, got out, walked over like I was checking for a mistake. There wasn't one. It was gone. The maple wasn't just a tree, it was the tree, planted by hand in 2003. My dad and I dug the hole together, 6 hours in the Arizona sun. He taught me how to brace the roots, how to water deep and wide. I watched it grow from a sapling into a full canopy that cooled the house every summer. Squirrels nested in it, neighbors borrowed its shade. I built a bench around its trunk. Now, just soil. I walked over to Amanda's. She lived across the street, retired, observant, no fan of HOA politics. She opened the door before I knocked. "You back?" I nodded. "What happened to the tree?" Her face shifted. Quiet guilt. "It was cut Friday." "By who?" She sighed. "HOA. Hired a crew. Said it was non-compliant." I blinked. "What does that even mean?" She shook her head. "I asked. They wouldn't explain. Said it didn't fit the visual line." "Visual line?" "That tree defined this street. People used to say my house looked like a postcard. Now it looked like a rental." I called the HOA hotline, left a message, then sent an email. No response that night. Next morning, a generic reply. "Dear Mr. Owens, the HOA authorized the removal of a non-conforming front yard structure in accordance with community visual cohesion standards. We appreciate your understanding. For further inquiries, you may attend the next HOA session on the 12th. Structure? It was a tree, and they didn't ask. I printed the email, took it outside, stood on the bare patch of lawn and read it aloud to no one. Then I crumpled it and sat on the bench that now circled nothing. I stayed there until dusk. Just me, the breeze, and the ghost of a tree they thought they could erase. By Tuesday, I'd calmed down enough to knock on Greta Kowalski's door, president of the HOA, the one who signs off on all major landscaping decisions. She lived at the end of the street, a manicured beige home with 2 stone lions and not a single leaf out of place. She answered with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Tom, everything okay?" "You know why I'm here." She tilted her head. "I assume this is about the tree." "Don't act surprised." She folded her arms. "Tom, it was a hard call, but our visual consultant said your tree broke the street line. It was taller, wider, and asymmetrical to adjacent houses. We made the call for cohesion." I stared at her. "It's not a hedge. It was planted before this HOA even existed." Her smile vanished. "And yet, we have to maintain standards. We sent out a notice." "No, you didn't." She blinked. "Well, it may not have reached you in time. You cut it while I was gone." She didn't answer. That night, I opened a bourbon and stared at old photos. The house, the tree, Dad in his work gloves, holding the sapling with both hands like it was fragile glass. They took more than wood. They took a memory. And that, I couldn't let slide. So I opened my laptop, typed, bulk sapling delivery, local native trees, full root ball, 50 units. Schedule, this Friday. Delivery address, the public easement directly in front of Greta Kowalski's house. The delivery truck arrived just after 7 a.m. on Friday. Bright orange cab, flatbed trailer loaded with 50 potted saplings. Arizona ash, desert willow, and redbud. Not huge trees, not dramatic, but alive, rooted, waiting. The driver looked around, confused. "You Tom Owens?" I nodded. He handed me a clipboard. Where do you want 'em? I smiled. Public easement. That curb stretch right there. I pointed to the strip of grass between sidewalk and street, the exact frontage in front of Greta Kowalski's picture-perfect home. He raised a brow. You serious? Very. By 7:20, we'd offloaded the entire batch. 3 neat rows, leafy, upright, soil fresh. The whole street started noticing. Amanda came out in slippers, coffee in hand. Tom, what are you doing? I looked over at her and grinned. Community beautification. She stared, then laughed. That's bold. Just following the visual line. Greta didn't come out until 9. Turi. She opened her door, looked out, paused, then stepped outside like someone approaching a suspicious package. I stood beside one of the redbuds with a spade in my hand. She stopped at the edge of her lawn. What is this? I wiped my forehead. Shade, oxygen, biodiversity. She narrowed her eyes. You're planting trees? Technically shrubs and ornamental shade trees, all below the 25-foot height limit, all from the approved HOA plant list. She opened her mouth, closed it, then said, On my sidewalk? City easement. You don't own this stretch. She blinked. I continued, and I double-checked with Public Works. Trees on easement strips are allowed with homeowner oversight, but not ownership, as long as they're HOA-approved species and don't obstruct traffic views. She stared. So, you're trying to provoke me? No, I said. I'm trying to match the symmetry. Then I planted the first one. By noon, I had 6 trees in the ground. Greta stood on her lawn with her phone, taking photos. I didn't mind. I'd already emailed the city the day before, logged the species, and filed a simple community landscape initiative form, all above board, all legal. The next day, I planted 8 more. Amanda brought lemonade. A few kids helped to dig. One little girl asked, Are you the guy they cut the tree from? I nodded. She patted the dirt beside a sapling. This one's for it. I nearly lost it right there. By Monday, it wasn't just me. Others had started planting too. Not all in front of Greta's, but along the entire street. People liked the idea, liked the action, liked doing something. 2 houses down, the Parkers added 4 willows. The Chens brought in ocotillo cuttings. The Alvarezes planted a mesquite and tied a ribbon around it. Tree 21. Greta was fuming. She came to my house that evening. No smile, no clipboard, just fury wrapped in beige. This is harassment. I opened the door wider. Hi, Greta. You're creating obstruction, clutter, visual chaos. I pointed across the street. To the trees your board said mine violated? Those were unauthorized. So were the saws. She flushed. We will have to hold a board meeting. You do that. Then I shut the door, calmly. Wednesday morning, I woke up to see a laminated sign staked in front of one of the new saplings. In all caps, unapproved planting, subject to removal. It had the HOA logo, no signature. I removed it, then stapled my own laminated page to the same stake. City-approved tree, not HOA jurisdiction, documented. The neighbors took photos, posted them online. A Reddit thread appeared that night. HOA war. Man plants 50 trees after HOA cuts down his without asking. By the next day, the post had 8,000 upvotes. By the weekend, the local news reached out. A reporter named Layla came by with a cameraman, asked if I'd do a segment. I said sure. I walked her through the whole thing, started at the stump, ended at the last planted tree. Microtron 38, a sweet little desert willow just outside Greta's fence. Layla asked, What do you want people to take from this? I looked straight at the camera. I'm not anti-HOA. I'm anti-silence. If someone takes from you without asking, plant something in response. Make the space louder, greener, harder to ignore. That night, Greta emailed the board. The subject line was, Crisis, Rogue Trees and Media Escalation. I know this because Amanda forwarded it to me. She added a smiley face. By Friday, the street looked like spring had exploded in midwinter. 42 trees, dozens of saplings, sidewalks lined with mulch rings, handmade plaques, even little solar lights planted by kids. The HOA couldn't ignore it anymore. They tried. but it was too late. Saturday morning, they held an emergency board meeting at the community rec center. Greta arrived first. Her mouth was tight. She wore tan slacks, a navy blazer, and the energy of someone who's used to ruling from a folding table. The rest of the board followed, some nervous, some amused. Then came the crowd. Dozens of residents, some with photos of their own planted trees. One neighbor brought a sapling in a pot and held it like a protest sign. Greta looked like she was going to faint. Jake, the newest board member, barely 30, software developer, always wore hoodies to meetings, opened the floor. He was the one who asked me to speak first, so I did. I brought a tablet and pulled up a presentation I titled, From Stump to Statement, a Case Study in Community Reforestation. People chuckled. Greta didn't. I walked them through the timeline of my tree's removal, the lack of formal notice, the email dismissing the issue as visual cohesion enforcement, the legal grounds for planting on city easements, the voluntary participation of neighbors, the positive online attention, the media coverage. Then I paused and showed one slide, side-by-side photos. Left, my old tree in full bloom, summer 2021. Right, the saplings lining the curb in front of Greta's house. And beneath them, one was mine, the rest are ours. The room clapped. Not rowdy, not political, just real appreciation. Greta stood. This is not a popularity contest, she said. This is a rules-based community. Amanda spoke next. Her voice was firm. Greta, you broke the rules first. You removed private property without consent or proper process. You can't hide behind standards when you don't follow your own. Jake nodded. We're here to fix that. Then came the vote. Item 1. Condemn the unauthorized removal of private landscape property without notification. Passed 6-1. Greta voted no. Item 2. Suspend HOA ability to remove trees from personal lots without written consent and owner sign-off. Passed unanimously. Even Greta caved. Item 3. Form a neighborhood regreening committee to support voluntary tree planting across Eastbridge Circle. Passed 5-2. Greta and one other abstained. After the vote, Greta stood again. This is not how communities are run. Jake smiled. No, it's how they grow. The next day, a laminated sign appeared on the community board near the mailboxes. Not from Greta, from Amanda. Big green letters, Eastbridge Greening Project, 52 trees planted and growing. Join us. We're not just trimming, we're thriving. Below that, a sign-up sheet, 12 names by noon. I added one more tree that weekend, number 50. Right beside my driveway, a red maple. Not the same as the one I lost, but close. Claire, the little girl who helped with the first few, walked over and said, "Is this the one that'll stay forever?" I knelt beside her. "I hope so." She touched the leaves. "I think it likes it here." That night, I lit up the yard. Just soft solar glow along the tree bases. No LEDs, no spotlighting, just quiet recognition for what had grown from the middle of a stump. And across the street, Greta's porch light stayed off. But I swear I saw her standing at the window, watching, not yelling, not calling, just watching. Monday morning, I received a letter, not an email, a real letter. Thick paper, HOA seal, hand-delivered. Inside, an official HOA motion document. Subject line, Notice of Board Seat Resignation. Greta Kowalski. No explanation, just a time-stamped note stating her voluntary removal, effective immediately. Signed and witnessed. No farewell email, no Facebook post, no announcement at the next meeting. She simply stepped down, just like that. Some called it victory. I didn't. I called it balance. That same week, something even more unexpected happened. City Hall reached out. A woman named Teresa from the Urban Forestry Department emailed me. "We saw your story in the Glendale Post. The initiative caught attention at city level. Would you be open to consulting on a pilot for citizen-based easement tree planting?" I stared at the email, then laughed, then reread it twice to make sure it wasn't a prank. We met the next Thursday. Teresa was in her 50s. Big smile, boots with mud on the heels, and a binder full of policy forms. She said, "You didn't just replant, you reprogrammed how people see green space. That's rare." She wanted to test a template where homeowners could opt into a fast-track permit system, pre-approved trees, install kits, basic reporting. No red tape. I offered to build a simple website for it. She said, "You're dangerous in a good way." By the end of the month, it had a name. Roots in Reach. Eastbridge Circle would be the first trial block. I dropped flyers in mailboxes with a little logo I mocked up. A sapling growing from the outline of a house, roots curling toward the curb. The sign-up form filled in 3 days. We planted 12 more trees that weekend. People showed up with gloves and shovels. Someone brought a Bluetooth speaker. Someone else made sandwiches. Amanda organized the tools. Claire drew a chalk mural on the sidewalk that read, "This street breathes." Then something strange happened. Greta walked by. No clipboard, no glare, just a plain jacket, hands in her pockets. She didn't say anything, just watched us plant 2 Arizona ash trees outside the Sorensen's yard. Then, slowly, she stepped forward and picked up a shovel. One scoop of dirt, then another. Nobody said a word. She didn't ask for forgiveness, but she helped. And when the last tree was in, she patted the soil and walked away. That was enough. At the next HOA meeting, Jake called it the cleanest cultural shift we've ever seen. Amanda called it the quiet revolution. I just called it the result of roots. In late March, a plaque appeared beside my new maple. Amanda had ordered it secretly. Bronze, ground-mounted, classy. It read, "In honor of what they took and everything we planted instead." People noticed. People smiled. No one objected. And Greta still lives on the street. Quieter now, but not invisible. She waves sometimes, even nodded at me once while watering her side hedge. I nodded back. The war was over, and the street had won. A reporter followed up from the original story, asked if I had any final words now that it all seemed wrapped. I told her, they cut down a tree, but they planted a neighborhood. She printed it, right next to a photo of Claire, holding her little shovel beside tree number 50. And now, every spring, we plant 10 more. It's a tradition now. People sign up early, families assign numbers, kids name their trees. Last year's favorites? Twiggy Stardust, Sir Photosynthesis, and Rudy McBranchface. Not my names, but perfect nonetheless. So if you're watching this, if someone ever takes from you without permission, without respect, and without care, don't just get angry. Grow something. Build it taller than their control, stronger than their silence, and more lasting than their authority. Because they can cut a tree, but they can't stop what it grows next. The next spring we hit 100 trees, all along Eastbridge Circle. Front curbs, public strips, behind benches, near mailboxes. Every 20 feet, a sapling. Some still small, others already stretching taller than the mailman. What started as retaliation? Now it was routine. Planned, shared, cherished. Kids from the middle school drew a walking map called the Shade Loop. Local runners made it part of their route. A bike path got rerouted to take in the view. Even the city's website featured Eastbridge in a piece about resident-driven beautification. Someone called us the Quiet Grove. I like that. At the HOA's annual open meeting, Jake stood at the podium, khakis and a flannel, no tie, and opened with, "Well, it took a stump and 50 trees, but I think we finally figured out how to get people to care." The crowd laughed, but it was true. Engagement was up. Meetings were full. There were fewer complaints, fewer warnings, fewer Karen reports. It was like people remembered the place belonged to them. All it took was a line of roots. A month later, I got a call from a man named Evan. He lived 2 cities over. Said he saw the story online. His HOA had just removed 4 fruit trees without permission, citing pest risk. He wanted to know how we'd done it, how we pushed back, how we stayed legal. I sent him the documents, the planting list, the contact at Public Works. Told him, don't just replant, invite others to do it with you. 3 weeks later, he sent a photo. 6 young citrus trees, 12 people smiling behind them. He called it Operation Orange. One evening in June, Amanda stopped by with 2 lemon bars and a question. You ever going to replant on your own lawn? I looked out the window. My yard still had the bench, still had the mulch, still had that gap, the memory of my old maple like a ghost in sunlight. I think I like the emptiness, I said. It reminds me what filled the rest. She nodded. Still, might be time. That weekend I went to the nursery, walked the aisles slowly, no hurry, no checklist. And then I saw it, a maple, just like before, slightly bigger than a sapling, but small enough to carry myself. It had a strong trunk, dark leaves, and when I touched the bark, it felt steady, like it could take the wind. I planted it on a Saturday. No speech, no ceremony, just me, the dirt, and the quiet memory of a man in work gloves 20 years ago, helping his son brace the roots with care. I named the tree nothing. It didn't need a name. It was home. Now when people walk past, they see it. Some recognize it, some don't. But I do. And Claire? She stops every time she rides by on her scooter. Says, "That one's yours, right?" I nod. She leans over and whispers to the leaves. I never ask what she says, but the tree seems to listen. So if you're still watching, if someone's ever cut something down that mattered to you, told you it didn't fit, didn't belong, wasn't approved, don't just rebuild what they took. Multiply it. Let it spread. Let it live. Because sometimes the only way to stand tall is to plant something they can't undo. Thanks for sticking around. Hit like if you believe trees speak louder than rules. Tell us what you'd replant and where in the comments. And subscribe, because next time, we're turning HOA bylaws into a coloring book, and every page comes with roots.